Tribeca Trade Group. Let me get my screens right. Let me get the video going. There we go. Welcome to today's recap for today. It is Wednesday, February 21st. Obviously, we've got a big earnings name after the close. Earnings fireworks, right? I mean, the move in Palo Alto really kind of upset the apple cart yesterday, and today just huge move down, and really kind of shaking the trees in terms of a lot of software names that we started to kind of lean down on Friday. Continuation yesterday, moving down in the software group, and today, could have been that final move lower. What's nice about some of the moves when they happen that way is that, not nice if you're in that name, but nice in terms of just washout, right? Every name is not going to execute well in this environment. And every company, of course, isn't going to, execute poorly in this environment either. So it is sometimes when you have one of those names, move down like that, it really shakes things up. Remember, going back for the last couple of quarters, it was FTNT in that space, right? Fortinet, who had like a billings problem, and the whole group went down a little bit. Now, this was more severe today in Palo Alto, but enough to kind of shake things up a little bit. And if you're positioned correctly, right, if you've been taking a little bit more of a defensive stance, right, because of the things that we've talked about recently, such as weak seasonal time period, especially the last 2 weeks of February, things starting to kind of lean lower, right? If you are a member of Tribeca Trade Group, these are all things that we've gone over in the last two weekend videos that I've mentioned, taking a more defensive stance, right? We also went over on last Friday. I spent about 20-30 minutes going over different hedges that you can do with the S&P, whether it's outright puts versus a call spread, a put fly, right? I did that for members on Friday, so we had protection in place for that. But regardless, right, so that's kind of what has transpired. And now after the close, you've got a nice earnings reaction from NVIDIA, so we can kind of talk a little bit about that as we get into sometimes I like to go over I like to go over the indices first in this situation, because this is such a popular name, and of course, it's reasons why it's a popular name. But this is delayed reaction, and move all the way through to the top of value for the and generally what I tend to look at is the 1 hour chart, because it will really kind of give you some clues about where there's some short-term support, short-term resistance, so on and so forth. But I'll tell you, I did not put this trade on. I did not put on an NVIDIA trade. I thought it might be more of the buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So I thought it could actually kick down to maybe 615, 620, where I was looking to buy. It did not get that far. So whoops, I didn't get to go along with that. And I think, I started to get tempted at the end of the day, because I really think, I mentioned that phrase over and over and over: buy the rumor, sell the news, right? If a name goes up 50% over the last quarter, usually, and this game is about probabilities. Usually what happens is the name makes a big move into earnings, or has really run up in anticipation, and then even on a strong earnings report, sometimes the name will actually sell off, right? That's just trading. It's trading 101, and buy the rumor, sell the news happens all the time. Now, in this situation, people got a little bit worried, right? And they took profits, and it kind of just shows you how many investors are in this trade. There's probably a lot of people who took profits. I did too. So this name went down from 740 all the way down to 660. I saw some mentions of 666 today, which I thought was funny. Again, we heard that on the upside, but it just basically recovered back to where it was last week. So so there you are. So if you are nimble, you could take advantage of the name going down. What I did was I bought some SMCI. Oh, I was going to bring up the earnings here for NVIDIA, just so that you could see, because I was reading the numbers, and I think the conference call is just starting now. All right, here we go. Demand exceeds supply for next gen products. They mentioned a tipping point. That was something that was mentioned. Let's see. Should have this. Yeah, not that. Where's my original note that I had in this? I can't find it, but oh, here it is. Nope, that wasn't it. Maybe because they've revised it. But here's the headlines for it, right? Data center, $18.4 billion, estimated 17. First quarter revenue, 24 billion, plus or minus 2%, estimated 22. So, I mean, after already like a decent high expectations, they went through them. So it's overall, I think, very impressive. Will they mention something on the conference call about a slowdown or something like that? I don't know. And that's why you have to listen to the conference call. But I did buy some SMCI on the break of the value area. I got in at what was the price that I have in here? I didn't put this in the trades channel, but where did I put this? SMCI. So I just bought a little bit of it for 759. I took a little target there at 801. Right. So, and where is this thing now? It's up to 820, 830. But again, I didn't do anything large because I've learned my lesson on trading some of these things after hours. But I got a question from a member. They're like, well, what do you think? Is it a double bottom or da 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 da? I don't know. It could be. All I know is I have a level to trade against, right? And that level for me is right around 750. Right. And that's it, and I'll take a target. If it happens to get up to 923, we'll take a target. But I think that would be a decent move. I should really be taking another target here. But that's it, right? And that's what the market webs really do for me, right? Is they say, hey, this is a level of interest for me, right? If we break into this. Now I didn't catch it right on the first go of it, but it tells me, hey, this is a level I want to be long, right? And then you can kind of remove all those other things that people talk about, right? All those other things, about, oh, the options, oh, they're buying these options and so on and so forth. Just go long versus a level, take some profits here and there, be responsible with your risk taking. And then if it drops back below, your trade is over, right? That's all it is, right? And I talk about how the market webs are always a roadmap for me. I call them also a blueprint of where I want to be taking risk versus, staying out of it. Right. And I talked about this earlier in the week. I said, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this stays in value until the Nvidia earnings. And it actually broke below a little bit, right, and then climbed back in. So let me just go bring up the Nvidia on the 1 hour, right? Again, just to see, so now, right, you could be long versus 720, you could be long versus 738, right? And that's basically the highs of last week. So it'll be interesting. I would imagine, unless we hear something different on the earnings call, you're going to have analysts stumble over themselves again, raising price targets. So these earnings do set set the tone, for what to experience next. And I think it will be interesting to watch. VRT was another name too that I was kind of watching a little bit today, right? We'll see what this does. Right around $62, right? A nice recovery for this stock from the lows, right? Palo Alto. We'll talk about some of these names. I brought, as I kind of set this up pre-market, right? I bought CrowdStrike, right? I wasn't looking to get involved I wasn't looking to get involved in Palo Alto. I always go when a name has bad news and it brings down the whole group. I always look for names that didn't do anything bad, right? They just kind of got caught up in the move. And I said, okay, let's see what happens with CrowdStrike, right? And CrowdStrike, if you look, right, and I was looking both on the 1 hour time frame. So notice how it took out this VPOC here around 285. Right. And the next one isn't down here until 246. So it's not really something, in my opinion, to worry about unless you really start gravitating lower, right, than that. But so far it held there. And, so I went through and I put this on Twitter too. I put the tape of the pre-market recording and I said I would be all over this if it, not all over it, but I would be, putting on a position. Now, if we look at the daily chart here in CrowdStrike, notice how we also, and I like when support lines up on multiple time frames, but we also went down to 272 there, right? And that was the low point, right? And we held that. Right. So, and also note how it got above the 50-day moving average. Now, I don't know what it's going to do from here, but I'll be long versus, whichever I pick, right? Probably will be this, the 50-day moving average, right? We'll keep it simple with the 50-day moving average because now it's inside value. If you want a further tolerance, you could be long versus 272. Again, it depends on your time frame. Some people have, are willing to take a little bit more risk or even willing to kind of add if it gets back down there. But I view CrowdStrike as a strong name. Again, I don't know if their business is seeing the same situation as Palo Alto, but you can kind of remove all that noise. And again, say, you're going to be long versus one area versus another. All right. So that was another one. I also bought a little bit of Zscaler too, but I didn't want to own two of these. But also note how Zscaler, big drop, but it held the bottom of value. Right. So, that you could be long Palo Alto. Sorry, not Palo Alto. Zscaler. I do that once or twice every video, by the way. 211, where I'm thinking of one name, one symbol, and I say the other one. But I would, say that you could be long versus 211. Right. And again, it's kind of, these are way above the yearly valuary. So, right now I'm just concentrating on the daily valuary. All right, now let's go to the indices. All right. I thought this was really interesting to see what the Qs did here. The Qs basically came down and up until about like 3 o'clock, right? It looked like this was going to break into the value area, right? And then that creates a whole nother set of decisions, right? If we were to break down further today, you just, you cut a little bit more risk, right? And, you have to take off a little bit of positions, but it's the same game plan. I try to go through basically the same game plan whenever we have a market dip, right? And I think everybody knows this. Like, if you've been trading for a while, that the market's going to dip from time to time, right? You know that you're going to get a correction. You know that you're going to get I can't tell you if this marks the end of, what we saw here in some of the tech names, but, there will be another episode of volatility in 2024, right? It's how you can control what you can control, your risk, right? And you have to be willing to kind of make some tough decisions sometimes, meaning not every trade is going to work, right? And that's all about, the maturity of trading, in my opinion, right? Um, control what you can control, your risk. Don't worry about FOMO. Don't worry about making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I make them all day long. Right? Hopefully not that many, but we were talking about this last night on Twitter. Right? You're going to be wrong. You just don't want to stay wrong, right? The only people who say that they're never wrong are the folks on Twitter who will never show you their P&L, right? Or they'll show you their P&L for one day. Oh, look at the trade I made, but they won't show you what their P&L was for the month. They won't show you what their P&L was for the year, right? And they'll do victory laps after they've already, while they never told you about the entry, right? Those are what's known as fugazis on Twitter, right? And there's a lot of fakes, unfortunately. But yeah, you're going to make them. It's all part of the maturity of being a trader, right? I think what you're also going to see too. So nice move here, held the top of value, and again, we could break this, but again, we've got a level to trade against. Let's just look at S&P futures. See where they kind of wound up. Again, this is a little bit of a stronger picture than the Qs, and nice little bullish engulfing for the day, right? And holding the 20-day moving average for now. All right. So all in all, that's not that bad, right? IWM, also, I thought IWM might outperform today. It didn't, and it really was just kind of stagnant for the day, right? But still holding the top of value. All right. So that's a couple names. Those are some of the names after hours that are moving. I'm going to go through for members. I think there's a lot of checkbacks in strong earnings names. That's why we kind of do the exercise every day of adding to our list of strong earnings names. Now we can watch what names that are not extended anymore, checking back to the 20-day moving average and may set up, right? I mean, this is not a strong earnings name, but this is another name that I like. This is KKR, right? Checking back to its 20-day moving average, right? That's what we want to do in names that have been strong, right? Start to buy dips and uptrends. Now I'll watch for the turn, right? But one of the things that I said earlier, let's just bring this up for you. Let's make sure I've got the right page up. Yeah, so here is my midday note. And I was kind of saying I was a little bit optimistic, right? I was talking about, I put an audio on this. So this is, you go to tddtrading.substack.com. You could get most of the note for free. You have to pay to see my positions and our watch list and so on and so forth. But I was saying, I'm like, for as bad as like everything's supposed to be, there's more 4-week so this is 1 month new highs in the SPX versus new lows. And yes, tech is correcting a little bit, as it should, right? It's gone up so much over the last 6 months, right? So have that perspective, right? And as we've said, these little dips or corrections provide some buying opportunities. You just don't want to get too caught up in, the moves down, and try to stay out of the moves once they start to bend and start to go down, right? You kind of get out and you wait for them to kind of find where they're going to see where they're going to get support at. But yeah, I mean, and take a look at all these new 52-week lows in the SPX today. How many do you see? Zero. So let's not be dramatic. I see too many people talking about like the world's going to end, or this is going to be horrible for the market. It's not that bad. 26 new highs today, right? Now, again, they may not be in tech, but look at all the other areas. SIBO, right? Sherman-Williams, Garmin had a nice earnings report. Some transports in there. I hate to tell you, but the transports are not bad, right? You may be looking at a bad index, but that's not anybody's fault, except for you could look at any index you want to. Right? This to me is a better transport. Maybe somebody doesn't want to look at strong transports and they want to look at that stupid Tran index, which doesn't have SAIA and it doesn't have XPO in it. That's not our fault that they're not including all the right companies in the transports. Right? Now, again, you could argue whether or not Uber should be in there. Fine. But I'll tell you, the transports are super strong. Get your head out of looking the trans index. The Dow Jones Transportation Index has 20 names in it, right? It's very slim and it's price weighted. Do you really want to be looking at a transport index that only has 20 names, right? And is not capturing the leaders? I don't know. I guess if you're really bearish and you're looking for an excuse, but this is what the transports are doing, right? And again, this is a market cap weighted index, and it's got a hell of a lot more than 20 names in it. Right, so much more diverse, a much better representation. All right, guys. So I'm not going to go through any more charts tonight. You have to be a member of Tribeca Trade Group. So sign up, tribecatradegroup.com. So that's where we're going to really kind of go over, names that have pulled back, strong names and uptrends that have pulled back to their 20-day moving average or top of the February value area, and look like, possible ads at this point. And by the way, there's been plenty of other names that we've been concentrating on, right? Here's Wells Fargo, for instance, right? Not extended, nice little move here, right? And I'm looking for this to kind of take out this VPOC here. Again, not going to be like, a home run trade, but, it was a really nice setup, right? Moving nicely. Look at Abbott today. Another name that we got long yesterday. So again, it's tough to be super conservative and not do anything when you have a really nice setup like this, right? Breaking out of about a couple months consolidation, right? And pushing higher, really nice for the medical devices. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.